Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we have our weekly mailbag show. Not as many questions today, so it'll be a little quicker. I think people have been getting their questions answered as we go. So there's not as much. They probably made their keeper decisions already and all that. But we still got some questions for you, so we'll go through those. And a few of these are stuff we've talked about quite a bit, actually, and need to still figure out our mindset if there's still the right thing to do. Before we get to that, make sure you check us out on Twitter at the FF Prophet. Instagram's Fantasy Football Prophet. The website's fantasyfootballprophet.com. You can send us an email, fantasyfootballprophet@gmail.com. And also want to tell you guys again about FanUp Network, the new app we've been using to manage all of our teams on there. You basically, if you don't know what it is, you can pretty much go download it on Apple Store, App Store, go to Android. It's all over the place. You can manage all of your teams from ESPN, Yahoo, NFL, My Fantasy League, which is actually the big one I was excited about when I saw that. I figured it'd have ESPN, NFL, Yahoo, the big ones, but they actually put My Fantasy League on there, which isn't as maybe mainstream. Maybe in the fantasy community, a lot of people know about it, but it's not,
right
for that. But it was kind of cool to have that because we can throw our Scott Fishbowl team on there, which I've hated this. Last year I actually had leagues in ESPN. I had one in Yahoo. I had one on My Fantasy League, and I apparently was in one NFL that I kind of just forgot about because I didn't go there. So this would have been very helpful for me last year. And it's almost impossible, I think, to check all those teams. Like, I know every time, if I'm ESPN was the main one, the other ones just got neglected.
Yeah.
And don't want that, especially with the Scott Fishbowl this year. I want to be able to pay attention to that. And the nice thing is you can actually see all your scores from all your leagues in one spot. You don't have to go to 4 different things and check out everything. So make sure you guys download that, check it out. Have all your player news, all your injury news, all that good stuff. It's FanUp Network. Go to fanupnetwork.com. You can download it from there. You can download it in App Store of your phone. All right, here we go. Got some questions for you, Jeff. Marty asks us. He has the 4th pick, Standard League. Does he go Antonio Brown or LeSean McCoy? Which, this game question, I believe, came in before Zeke. So, that was the question before. Now it's not necessarily.
Now it's who are you going to get stuck with more?
It's basically, I would most likely assume you're going to get one of the two. I think you're going to end up with McCoy. I think Brown's going to go first. Let's just say that, let's say for him, his situation's easier because I think it's going to probably be, he's going to just one of the two.
Yeah.
Let's say it's the 3rd pick now. Who do you go, Brown or McCoy? We've talked about this. This is the biggest decision we have.
Yeah, this is a very difficult one. I really think in that situation, Antonio Brown or LeSean McCoy, you can go either and you don't miss out on it. It's really however you want to build your team. I wouldn't mind either one. Right now, I think for especially a PPR league, I think it's probably the safer pick is Antonio Brown. I think McCoy probably helps your depth out a bit.
Yeah, I think and we're higher on McCoy. We not in running back ranks. Everyone has him there, but people have been picking the wide receivers ahead. PPR, I think you just go Brown because I believe a big wide receiver run will happen and you'll be able to get a decent running back in the second. I just hate that, especially now with Zeke. The running backs are depleted even that much more.
Yeah.
Which is it bothers. It's gonna. I actually just had this happen. I have a draft which is going to be like tomorrow night, where I have the 3rd pick.
So perfect. Who are you going to take?
Oh my God, I don't know. It's PPR if I'm going Antonio Brown.
Oh, okay.
I think it is. I'm gonna probably go Antonio Brown, just because I think I can read this league a little bit maybe in a way, and I think there'll be a wide receiver run. PPR people overreact. And it's gonna be wide receiver, and I think I'll be okay with who I get. It's only a 10-team league, so in a 12-team league, it's that much tougher to take Brown there. But man, it's tough. If McCoy didn't have any kind of injury, possible issues, if he wasn't 29 years old, I think it'd be a no-brainer McCoy to me. I think there's just a little bit more McCoy stuff that could detract, but it bothers me. It worries me so much of who I get in that second time around. And at that point, I think you have to go running back, 2nd and 3rd. I don't like to advocate maybe necessarily doing that all the time. Like I don't want to say, you have to do this or have to do that, but you might have to go that route a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's a tough question for me, and honestly, I feel like either way is okay. You know what I mean?
I honestly, I think As I say, in PPR, I would go Antonio
Yeah.
Brown. If it wasn't, I would go McCoy. And that's how close I think they really are in that spot.
And I think we've talked about this too. I think we are different than other people in that decision.
We're a little
But I
running
think-
back heavy.
Yeah, PPR, I'm going to go Brown, but with Zeke, that's just one less running back.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, I think the running back, taking them in the first round, I think it just almost makes sure that you can't screw your draft up. So if you're really worried about not building a good team, if you're kind of newer to fantasy as well, I think that's a safer pick. I think you go McCoy, and then when you come back around, you can grab a wide receiver or a running back, and then the third one you fill out. So I think it's an easier way to go. I think Antonio Brown, you have an amazing wide receiver, we all know, but you have to make sure that you navigate on the way back. Otherwise, you could end up in a very, very bad spot with your running back situation.
All right.
And that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Next question. Chris Walter asked us, what's the best draft strategy for a dynasty league? And also, how do rankings differ? Chris is trying to get some inside info. He's actually in our dynasty league we just created. We have a dynasty league, which we'll actually have that draft. Actually, no, I got my dates wrong. The dynasty league draft is tomorrow night. That'll be that one. Chris is a part of that, so he wants to, I think, get some inside info on how maybe we think.
Yeah.
We'll kind of run that team together. We have a 14-team. It's a half-point PPR dynasty league. But, okay. We are in another dynasty league. This is our 4th year. And I like to look at your team, like the way there's different strategy for how to do this. I think we kind of differed in how we did our first year. So, yeah, how did you do your draft that year one, which was, 2014?
Yeah. So basically there's
A couple ways.
Yeah, there's a few. There's really 3. First, you can go win now, and the majority of the people are going to be older. You can lose a lot more to injury or retirement, obviously, in 3 years. The next one would be to do a hybrid, which I think you're kind of... I don't like this near as much. I almost want to pick one or the other. And then the third one, which I went with, is basically age is a huge contributing factor, which it always should be in Dynasty. Don't overthink it. So obviously this was how many years ago? 4 years ago. So my number one pick was AJ Green because I took someone that was a guaranteed home run hit, and he had age on his side as well. Yep. But I also took a lot of chances. So that was the year. I mean, this was before a lot of people broke out. But I took, Freeman.
Yeah, you had Freeman that year.
I took. Oh my gosh, I was trying to think of all the people I have.
Did you have Travis Kelce?
I have Kelce and Gronk. I had Sammy Watkins. I had
a lot of guys.
Allen Robinson. I'm trying to think of Carlos Hyde. I mean, I ended up with a ton of young talent.
Which you weren't very good the first year. Well, ever since then.
I went I think just above 500, and I missed out on a tiebreaker for the playoffs.
Then
but every year since,
year 2,
I've been
you were
very
pretty good. In year 3, you won the title.
And then this year, I'm heavily favored to go to the playoffs once again.
And if you look at it, we had another team in the league, went veteran heavy, wanted to win that title.
Missed out.
They didn't win it. Teams now, there's a site that we put in together, I think, for Dynasty ranks overall. I think they're like dead last now for future ranks in that league. It's tough to build it back, especially in the league. That's a 10-team league. The one we're creating that's starting tomorrow night is a 14-team league. That is going to be, that's deeper. That's in the roster spot's only one less out of those, so it's going to be tough to get that. And I think I kind of did the hybrid model in a way. But here's the problem with what I did. I did okay, and I've actually made the playoffs all 3 years. But I don't have, at this point, I feel like enough to get over the hump to win the title necessarily. It's just the way, it's tough. It's a tough thing. And then somebody else, another team in the league, I don't know what they did. I can't remember how their actual draft strategy was early on, but they kind of bottomed out year 2 or year 1, which weren't very good. All of a sudden now they have David Johnson, Zeke Elliott, and Melvin Gordon all on the team in Dynasty because they hit their draft picks right, but they had a couple bad years, got top picks, draft picks. There's actually a million different ways to do it. I just think the veteran heavy, if you want to try for that one title, isn't the way to go. You might win that one title, and the chance it's still random.
Yeah,
but you are going to suffer probably after that.
Without a doubt. And you can still get a couple of young guys in there, but it does become very, very scary.
So basically with the rankings, it's just the rankings differ in a way. I think the young guys just slightly move up. We don't go crazy with it, but they do move up maybe a round ahead of time. Yeah. Maybe 2 rounds.
I'll be honest, some of them, I mean, you kind of have to pick them by certain, I'm trying to think of a good example, but like a Mike Williams. Obviously, he's going to get jumped way ahead because obviously even missing a couple of weeks is not going to be a huge deal. Yep. A lot of those really young guys, a lot of the young running backs are going to be going for way ahead of time too. So the tough thing about those is, I don't feel necessarily awesome about taking any of those ahead. But once again, I mean, the guys that are going to be really sought after are going to be Zeke, David Johnson, Bell. Aaron Rodgers still has a lot of years left in him. That doesn't change. Kelsey is going to be a huge one. Yep. The interesting ones are going to be guys like, when does Breeze go? When does Brady go? When does Gronk go? So these guys you can fill in, but you don't want to take them too early because they're a little riskier in dynasty.
McCoy's interesting. 29 years old in a dynasty.
He should fall back a little bit.
He'll be second round at the best.
I think Gordon and Howard, there's a lot of young running backs right now, so you got to go for all those. But that's the tough part because all those young guys are going to be at a premium, so first 3 rounds are going to be paramount for those guys.
All right. Jason asks us, why are experts putting Jay Ajayi above Jordan Howard? He's the best player on the team. He says you can have Devontae Freeman and Jordan Howard with your first 2 picks if you wanted, to do running back, then wide receiver. So that's a good point. You could go Freeman and get Howard. So why is Jay Ajayi going ahead of Howard? I guess I should say why, because I have him ahead of Howard.
I do not.
You do not.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not going to worry about the concussion stuff with Ajayi right now. I'm still in the concussion protocol. But I guess my reasoning they're very, very, very close for me. There's not much of a difference. Why I put him I think he's only 1 spot ahead of Howard. It's honestly it was the team at first. I felt like the Dolphins were a little better situation. I haven't adjusted my rank since Tannehill went out. Maybe I should. I was just a little bit more hesitant about the Bears' offense. And I guess now they're both, who knows. To me, there's not much of a difference. I can't say for sure. Like I might move Howard ahead of Ajayi here. I haven't adjusted my ranks yet, so I actually might make that change with the concussion stuff, with the new quarterback. So
I do have to say I like Howard better.
Yep.
I like the consistency. I like the way he's at. No one's behind him. You don't have to worry about him. I think he is as safe as they come for top 10 running backs. Ajayi, I can understand why he would be put above him because, last year you saw it. He had 3 games with 200 yards. The guy really is a home run threat. So if you're going for someone that looks like maybe they have a little more upside in that range, you can make that argument, and I would have no problem with it. And I don't know if Jay Cutler coming in necessarily changes the Dolphins' offense that much. I'm not a huge Tannehill fan, so I don't think it changes that much. Really the concussion thing, I'm not going to worry about that right now either. Once again, I think they're insanely close. I think I have it just flip-flop from you. Yeah. But I think Howard is a little safer. I like him as just a pro-style running back that's going to do good all year. And I think Ajayi is going to be a little more up and down. And really, that's it. That's the difference.
Yep, and I don't have a good argument for Ajayi right now. It's just like they're almost identical for me.
Yeah, they're both going to be, I think, both are insanely very strong picks at this point.
RJG asks us. He's the 4th pick. Another 4th pick question here. He's a PPR league. He says, if he gets Shady in the first round, should he then target Gurley and Crowell in the 2nd and 3rd rounds? Or are there better options? And this is a 12-team league. See, I don't like... I would be fine with those picks, maybe. I don't know. Think about this. PPR. Do you want to go? I don't like to say. I always say that I don't like to say you have to do this, running back. It depends on which players are there. It's a player-based thing for me. It's not necessarily position-based. I want to get running backs within those rounds. How comfortable are you with 3 running backs in the first 3? And this is 12 teams. So let's think about this. In the 3rd, it's the beginning of the 3rd. It's where it's 4th pick. He has to go that far.
Yeah.
Again, that's what he'll have to wait till pick 45. In the 4th round to get your first wide receiver in a PPR league.
I love going for a running back because it sets you up, but I think that may be extreme. I think for me, I would spend, and it doesn't matter which one. I like McCoy first, or in that one, if you really think you can go those 2, if you really like those 2, you could take a high guy, or a high wide receiver in the first round. I would go McCoy, and then coming back, you're going to see who you like. If that wide receiver is probably going to be gone, in the next couple picks, I would take wide receiver and then whatever running back falls to you because I think those guys are very close. I think in PPR, I think it's too scary not to take one of those as a wide receiver. So that's what I would say. And it really depends on what wide receivers are there. But you're going to get a quality one. I would take someone that you really believe in. That's the big thing.
Well, and this is, I guess, what am I trying to say? sometimes it's not terrible if you want to load up on running backs like that, and if you feel comfortable with some of those deeper wide receivers where you can completely change up what you're doing compared to the rest of the league. Maybe you're building a roster completely different where they're all going to be about the same. You have something different. Mm-hmm. And if you hit, that's the way you can win a title that way. If you get 3 good running backs like that and you hit on those late round wide receivers, you're going to win. Yeah. You're going to be right there at the end at the very least. Yeah. Can you hit on those? We think we have some good options there, but some of our options too, like, aren't necessarily great PPR players. I don't think Martavis Bryant's this PPR guy. He's probably going to go higher anyway. You probably wouldn't even get him in the 4th at this point. So it's
one guy you could get possibly a little bit later is Keenan Allen, who I have read.
Maybe you get him in like the 3rd or something,
right?
Like,
which is a great PPR guy. But I mean, to that point, it's very true. I mean, if you look down the list and you have a list of 7 wide receivers you can get late, and you like them all, and you think that 3 of them are always going to be available to win you a week, you can go heavy. But for me, once again, I would go, you have your 2 top running backs that you absolutely love, and then you have that 1 wide receiver you can absolutely count on that's going to be your number 1, and then you fill in with the other 2 guys. I think it's much more safe. But once again, you can't go. I mean, if you have enough running backs, the worst that can happen is you trade.
And the thing is, I'm not going to say not to get those 3 running backs, because if you're in a spot there too, if the running backs are by far the best players there, don't pass up best player sometimes. Don't always pass up best player. Especially in these first few rounds, I don't worry about filling my roster right away. Fill your roster later. If you're getting the best possible players, and it's just clearly they're the best and there's nobody close, you just get the best player. I agree. You know what I mean? All right, Danny asks us, is Terrell Pryor worth reaching for in the 3rd round? And is he capable of being a wide receiver 1? Is he worth where people are drafting him?
What is his ADP right now?
His ADP is actually overall 33 right now, which in a 12-team league puts him at the back end of the 3rd. So we posted up our rankings last week, top 20 wide receiver ranks, and I told you right away, hey, we're going to get crap because Terrell Pryor didn't make our top 20. He was 21st.
Which, even though he was 20th for both of us.
Yeah, it makes sense, but that's not where he is ADP-wise. Wide receiver, he's like wide receiver 17 right now, I believe. But ADP, that's ranked.
Yeah, it's not that far off.
ADP is about 16th. But let's look at the players around him. Let's figure this out here. But I'm going to say right there before I even look at it, I think it's too high. I don't think I want Terrell Pryor in the 3rd. He maybe can be a wide receiver. I don't think he can be a wide receiver 1. I don't think you want him as a wide receiver 1. He could be.
Well, I was going to say, that's my thing. I like him a lot. I think he can be a wide receiver 1. But I think you're taking a risk if that is your actual wide receiver 1. Yep. That's my thing.
All right. Well, let's ADP here and just see if we think it's still worth a 3rd rounder by who's behind him. Mm-hmm. He still might be worth that 3rd rounder. All right. So he's 33. So the other guy's right behind him, Carlos Hyde. Are you going Hyde or are you going Pryor? I still think I'd go the running back.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what I had before.
Alshon, you're going ahead of Pryor. I'm going ahead of Pryor.
Yeah, I am too.
It's not even Allen Robinson.
I would, at this point, I don't know how I ranked him, but it's a tough one. But at this point, I think I would lean Pryor, actually.
Watkins, Pryor. Joe Mixon.
You should probably have to go Mixon.
Kelsey, probably Pryor.
Yeah, Pryor.
Even though I
love Kelsey.
Breeze.
Oh, well, we like to go local QB, so I'd go Pryor.
All right, the last one that makes it. Oh, there's 2 more maybe. Keenan Allen.
I like Keenan Allen.
Tyreek Hill. We're both going Pryor.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams.
Woo.
That's about the last one.
Yeah, I think I would probably lean Pryor on that one.
Okay, you can go down a little further. Crabtree.
Crabtree's way safer, but yeah.
So but based off that, we didn't say yes to a lot of guys. He was already 3. So yeah, at the end of the 3rd round, it's not a reach to me for Pryor at the end of the 3rd round. It's if anything, it's a very slight reach, so it's perfectly fine there.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's not. I don't think it's crazy. And yes, I mean sure he could be then your wide receiver 1 if you go 2 good running backs in the first 2. Then if that's what he's going to be, your wide receiver 1, then that's fine. I get it. Hopefully he's your wide receiver 2. Hopefully there's somebody else still there. You get him as wide receiver 1. Maybe he's your wide receiver 2 in the 4th in the turnaround.
Yeah, so. And that would be really amazing.
Yep. Last question we got is from Ravens 101. He asked, do you think Danny Woodhead is going to have a really good year with the Ravens? We talked about Danny Woodhead last week. We talked about Danny Woodhead a lot.
I guess define really good. I like him a lot.
I like him too. how good. Why running back? I still want him as my third. I don't feel comfortable with him as my second. And I've seen him. I've seen people say he should be there as a third. I think he's fine. Especially in PPR.
Let's be honest. He's just he's kind of on and off every time with injury. Yep. So you're taking a little more of a risk. I think if he stays healthy, I think he's a running back too. And PPR, I think he's a high end RB2. Yep. That's how big of a difference it is. He's going to have a lot of catches. So yeah, I think he's going to have to that stat, I think he's going to have a very good year, especially for him and on a Baltimore offense that I'm not too wild about.
Yep. All right, I think that's it for the mailbag today.
Cool.
Actually, it's good questions there. I always love the mailbag. Just we talk about different situations we might not think about right away. So we'll have more, that again next week. If you guys have questions, please get them in. On the email, the website, Twitter, Instagram, any of those points. If we forgot your question or somehow we missed it, just let us know. Tell us we screwed up. Send it to us. We'll answer you an email or whatever, and still talk about it on next week's show. So we don't want to miss anybody. We didn't throw out your question because we maybe didn't think it was good or something. We just somehow.
Yeah, we'll answer whatever.
We missed it. If there's 4 or 5 different places they're coming from, sometimes one falls through the cracks a little bit. So just get it back to us. We'll answer it for you. And again, thanks to our sponsor today, FanUp Network. Go check them out. Download the app and manage all your teams on that. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.